So I couldn't get away from talking about failure and imploring other people that they should talk about failure without providing an example from my own experience. So I want to tell you about a campaign that we ran at the company I was at previously. And this is something that I inherited from a previous marketing leader. And the background is this. We changed our go-to-market strategy. We were moving from selling a do-it-yourself app development platform, selling that to technical audiences and builders who would be using it, to basically selling the products of the platform. Taking the application platform, building some off-the-shelf solutions for specific business problems, and selling them to enterprise decision makers, so the folks who experience the problem directly. Brand new for our company, brand new for our brand. And we needed to educate the market and kind of build awareness that we were doing this. And the idea was we would use paid ads on LinkedIn, very popular playbook right now. And what we would do is get our content, get our message in front of folks, have them channel back to the website, do word of mouth, share it with their friends. And eventually we would educate them on the website and we would capture the demand there. When I rolled up my sleeves and kind of dug into this campaign, noticed that there were a couple of problems that were kind of baked into it. Number one, we were gambling with an unproven go-to-market strategy. We had kind of talked to customers. We had some qualitative input that said the go-to-market strategy is sound, but now we're placing a big marketing investment behind it and market testing it in a very big way, in a very expensive way. So we didn't know that we were gambling, or at least we didn't openly acknowledge we were gambling when this campaign was conceptualized and launched. The other thing was, on investigation, the campaign tactic was actually not a great match for our budget and our go-to-market strategy. LinkedIn advertising is great, but it's also very expensive. And for a bootstrapped company who doesn't have a lot of marketing budget or resources, it quickly consumed a significant portion of the marketing budget and actually took money away from other programs. As well, our go-to-market strategy targeted multiple non-overlapping audiences. So ideally, what you do is you would multiply your media budget for each of those audiences to maintain your reach and frequency, when in fact, what we ended up doing was dividing, which is never a great idea. There were expectation mismatches between what the sales leaders and the board was expecting the campaign to generate and what the marketing team was expecting the campaign to generate. That misalignment on leads and pipeline was going to be problematic. No success metrics were identified leading into the campaign. We didn't know what we would say qualified it as a win or a failure. We didn't have attribution set up, and we had no set timeline or framework for how to make the call whether this campaign was working or not. These are all yellow lights, things that you should slow down for and deal with when they get experienced or identified. And what you shouldn't do is floor it and try to beat the light and hope that you've gotten far enough past it that it doesn't come back to bite you. Never a great approach. So one of the things I did was start to reset expectations with the leadership team and the board about what we're trying to do with a demand creation campaign. Given the time frame in an enterprise kind of B2B sale, it would be a while before the actual financial results would start to trickle in from this. So how do we identify some canaries in the coal mine, some leading indicators that would give us a hunch whether or not we could expect the campaign to generate the final desired result or whether it was not going to work? We looked at things like the volume of branded traffic to our website. We looked at things like session duration on campaign associated pages, the number of resources per session that were consumed, account engagement, account coverage, and things like that, and wanted to take a look at those and see if we could move the needle on those. And if those moved, then conceivably we would get the expected long-term outcome. And in that way, we could evaluate the strategy and separately evaluate the tactic and see whether or not one, the other, or both were not going to work or were going to work. And then we set some cutoff dates. If we didn't see the leading indicators move, hey, let's kill it after 6 months. If we did see them move, let's let it run its course for a year and see what we could see. So in the end, we had really strong performance for account coverage and account engagement with the ads. We had really good engagement on our website. We saw all of our session metrics going up. We had a good degree of confidence that we were getting the right message in front of the right audience, and that they were interested enough with it to engage with the content. But what we didn't see was a correlation between campaign activity and branded traffic volume to the site. As well, we were kind of monitoring our high intent form fills and noticed they were slowly trending up, but not at a pace that would really make us feel great about the amount that we were spending. Attribution never got dialed in entirely, even though we implemented hybrid attribution. What we ended up doing was basically taking all the things we could definitely attribute, putting them in a bucket, and everything that was left over, let's over attribute that to the campaign and make our decision based on that. In the end, even with that approach, over attributing to the campaign, the ROI didn't make sense. The payback period was too long. The acquisition costs were too high, and we pulled the plug on it. But we were able to validate that the GTM was working, and just the campaign was not a great choice for our particular audience and company. So in the interest of time, I'm going to gloss over this. But the case study and what my experience has kind of indicated time and again is certain things come up over and over again. These are common things that you can plan for. And what you should do is build a checklist for what you could do to mitigate failure, build a checklist for what you should do in anticipation of failure, and then build a checklist of what you've done when things have gone wrong. And in doing that, you can actually make the most out of an otherwise bum situation and get some value in it and build your credibility and then build your chances of success in the future.
Karl, this is great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. We'll turn it over to questions now.
Yeah. Can you go back to that slide 1 second? Because I had a question. If anyone else had questions from the audience, you're more than welcome to just write them in the chat. We'll pick them up from there. My one question, was really around, the observation that you are to some degree normalizing the fact that, marketing is a probabilistic, effort. It's a portfolio of initiatives. Some of those initiatives will be more successful than others. Some will not be successful at all. Mm-hmm. And so one, being aware of that, and accepting that and making that part of the conversation is necessary. Two, there might be things that you can do to help and enable a healthy approach around it, right? Because what you're saying is very true, but also it's not very safe, right? Because you're saying that, some people that have their job in marketing depend on initiatives will see those initiative fails. So how do you have that conversation in a healthy, productive way?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. So, obviously, you want to make winning bets more often than you make losing bets.
Yes.
But I think that the signals that you send after making a losing bet are extremely important to your credibility and the marketing department's credibility. And if we do not do a deep dive to understand root causes and to understand exactly what failed and then make adjustments to prevent it in the future, we will always be seen as gamblers in the profession, which we want to avoid. Right. When product lays an egg, product has a whole, checklist and procedure for doing the post-mortem and understanding how they prevent it from ever happening again, and implementing some policy, procedure, and practice to make sure that we're just not going to make that mistake again. And I feel like as marketers, we don't send those signals often enough that we're very serious about what went wrong, and that we don't just view it as a blip or an oh well.
You're not equally comfortable in saying, that some stuff is going to fail. But to your point, if and when something does fail, there needs to be a postmortem and there needs to be some learnings coming out of it to do better the next time, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, precisely. I mean, like I say, to me, it comes down to, having credibility with the CEO, having credibility with the CFO, and having credibility with the rest of the organization. That's, we are being very logical and very systematic about the way that we're doing things. Yeah. And in the absence of absolute...
I had to stop you there.
Yeah.
This was great, though.
Yeah. Thanks, Armando.
Yes, very much appreciated.
Yeah, if anybody wants to deep dive or has questions, connect with me on LinkedIn. We'd be love to continue the conversation.